I was 300 miles from home, sleeping in a cabin in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee, when my phone buzzed at 5 in the morning. The alarm notification lit up the screen, then the phone rang. Frank, the security guard from my gated community in suburban Atlanta, sounded nervous. My daughter-in-law Amanda was at my house with moving trucks, telling him she was the new owner and demanding to be let in. My heart pounded. I built that house with my own hands 30 years ago. My late wife Susan died there 2 years ago. I stayed calm and told Frank to let her in. She was about to learn a very hard lesson. I threw my clothes on and grabbed my keys, my mind racing as I ran to my truck. The mountain air was cold and sharp, but I barely felt it. My hands shook as I started the engine and pulled onto the winding road that would take me back down to the highway. 300 miles. 6 hours if I drove fast. 6 hours to figure out what in the world Amanda was doing at my house at 5 in the morning with moving trucks. As I drove through the darkness, watching the yellow lines blur past, my mind kept replaying the past 6 months. Derek, my son, my only child, had been acting strange. He kept asking questions about the house. What was it worth? Did I have the deed in a safe place? Had I updated my will? At the time, I thought he was just being responsible, thinking about the future. Now I understood. He was planning something. And Amanda. She had been so friendly lately, too friendly, inviting me over for dinner every week, asking about my health, my finances, whether I was lonely in that big house all by myself. I thought she was finally warming up to me after 5 years of cold politeness. I was a fool. Derek had been the one to suggest this vacation. He said I needed to relax, to get away from the house for a while. He even found the cabin and paid for the first week. Now I knew why. He wanted me gone. I tried calling Derek. The phone rang once and went to voicemail. I called again. Same thing. He had silenced my number. My chest tightened. I called my neighbor Carl, the only person I really trusted anymore. No answer. It was 5:30 in the morning. Everyone was asleep. Everyone except Amanda, who was apparently stealing my house. The sun started rising as I crossed into Georgia. My knuckles were white on the steering wheel. I kept thinking about Susan. We bought the land together in 1993. I was a contractor, and she was a schoolteacher. We drew up the plans at the kitchen table of our tiny apartment. I built that house board by board, nail by nail. Susan picked every paint color, every light fixture. We refinished the hardwood floors together on our hands and knees. Derek took his first steps in that living room. Susan died in the bedroom 2 years ago. Pancreatic cancer. Fast and brutal. I held her hand in the bed we had shared for 40 years and watched her take her last breath. The house was full of her. Her garden out back. Her reading chair by the window. The kitchen where she baked bread every Sunday. That house was not just property. It was my life. It was Susan's memory. And now Amanda was trying to take it. I pulled into my neighborhood at 11 in the morning. My street looked normal, quiet, except for the 2 massive moving trucks parked in my driveway. My stomach dropped. The trucks were real. This was really happening. I parked on the street and got out. Men in work clothes were carrying furniture out of my house. My furniture. I saw my recliner, the brown leather one where I had sat with Susan during her final months, reading to her when she was too weak to hold a book. I saw our dining room table, the one we had refinished together, sanding it down and staining it a rich walnut color. They were loading my life into those trucks. Amanda stood on the front lawn, clipboard in hand, directing the movers like she owned the place. She was wearing expensive sunglasses and a designer outfit I knew Derek could not afford on his mechanic salary. She saw me walking up the driveway and did not look surprised. She did not look guilty. She looked triumphant. She walked toward me with a folder in her hand, a cold smile on her face. "Howard," she said, her voice smooth and practiced. "I was hoping you would stay away longer. This would have been easier." "Easier?" My voice came out rough, strained. "What are you doing, Amanda? Why are you taking my furniture?" "Not your furniture," she said, opening the folder. "Our furniture. Well, Derek's and mine. This house belongs to us now." I stared at her, trying to process her words. "What are you talking about?" Before she could answer, I heard footsteps behind me. I turned and felt my heart break into pieces. Derek was walking out of my house, carrying a box. My son, my only child. The boy I had taught to ride a bike, to throw a baseball, to use a hammer. He would not look at me. "Derek?" I said, my voice barely a whisper. "What is this? What are you doing?" He set the box down and finally met my eyes. The look on his face was defensive, almost hostile. "Dad, we need this house. Our apartment is too small. You do not need all this space. So you are stealing my home?" I could not believe what I was hearing. "The home I built? Where your mother died?" Amanda stepped between us, her voice sharp and businesslike. "Not stealing, Howard. You signed it over to us." She handed me papers from her folder. "Quit claim deed. Your signature. Dated 3 weeks ago. Notarized and filed with the county. All legal." I looked at the document. There was a signature that looked like mine. But I had never seen this paper before in my life. I never signed this. "Sure you did," Amanda said, her smile widening. "Right before your vacation. You were probably distracted, but you definitely signed it." "This is forged," I said, my hands shaking as I held the paper. "I never signed anything." "Prove it," Amanda said calmly. "We had it notarized. It has been filed with the county recorder. It is completely legal. If you think otherwise, take us to court. But I promise you, we did everything by the book." I looked at Derek, begging him with my eyes to stop this madness. "Son, please. Think about what you are doing. This is your mother's house, your childhood home." Derek's jaw tightened. "Dad, Amanda is pregnant. We need the space. We need stability. You can get an apartment. It is time to downsize anyway." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Pregnant. My first grandchild. Under any other circumstances, I would have been overjoyed. But not like this. Not while they were stealing my home. "Derek, I am not leaving my house. We can figure something out. But I am not just going to hand it over because you forged some papers." "You are trespassing," Amanda said flatly. She turned to one of the movers. "Call the police if he does not leave." I tried to walk past her to the front door. My door. My house. She blocked my path. "This is private property now, Howard. You need to leave." Frank, the security guard, pulled up in his golf cart. He looked miserable, caught in the middle. "Mr. Howard, I do not know what to do here. She showed me papers saying the house is hers. Frank, I have lived here for 30 years. You know me. This is fraud." Amanda pulled out her phone. "Call the police, Frank. Tell them we have a trespasser who is refusing to leave private property." The movers had stopped working and were watching uncomfortably. I looked at my son one more time. "Derek, do not do this. Please." But he just turned and walked back into the house. Amanda stayed on the lawn, arms crossed, waiting for me to leave. I had no choice. I got back in my truck, my hands shaking so hard I could barely grip the steering wheel. As I drove away, I saw the movers continue loading my life into those trucks. Everything Susan and I had built was being stolen, and my own son was helping them do it. I drove straight to my attorney's office. Patricia Simmons had handled Susan's estate when she died, and I trusted her completely. She was a sharp woman in her 50s with gray hair and no-nonsense attitude. When I walked into her office at 1 in the afternoon, I must have looked like a mess, because she immediately poured me a glass of water and told me to sit down. I explained everything while she listened, her expression growing darker with each detail. When I showed her the quitclaim deed Amanda had given me, she put on her reading glasses and examined it carefully. "Howard," she said slowly, "this signature is remarkably good, almost perfect. If I did not know you, I might believe you signed this." "But I did not," I said. "I was not even in town 3 weeks ago. I was visiting my brother in Florida. Can you prove that?" I thought about it. "I have credit card receipts from restaurants in Tampa, hotel charges. My brother can testify." Patricia nodded. "That is good. But here is the problem. This deed has been notarized. That means a notary public supposedly witnessed you sign it and verified your identity. That notary stamp looks legitimate. She pulled out her laptop and started typing. After a few minutes, she turned the screen toward me. The deed was filed with Fulton County 3 weeks ago. It is in the system. Legally, as of right now, that house belongs to Derek and Amanda. But it is forged. I believe you, Patricia said. But the burden of proof is on us. We have to prove fraud. That means we need handwriting analysis, which is expensive and takes time. We need to prove you were somewhere else when this was supposedly signed. We need to find that notary and prove they are lying or were tricked. None of this is quick or cheap. How much are we talking? $50,000, minimum, maybe more. And it could take months. If they sell the house to a third party before we can prove fraud, recovering it becomes exponentially harder. I felt sick. My retirement savings totaled about $120,000. Legal fees could wipe out half of that, and I might still lose. We need to file an emergency injunction, Patricia said, already pulling up forms on her computer. Stop the sale if they try to sell it. But Howard, I have to warn you, a judge might not grant it. They will argue that you are a bitter old man trying to block your son from building his life. They will use your grief over Susan against you. File it anyway, I said. Patricia worked for the next 2 hours, typing up motions and making phone calls. I sat in her office, feeling numb. Finally, she printed out a stack of papers for me to sign. I will file this first thing in the morning, she said. In the meantime, do not go near that house. Do not contact Derek or Amanda. Let me handle this legally. If you confront them again, it could hurt our case. I drove to a cheap motel on the edge of town and checked in. Room 217, with a saggy bed and a broken TV. It smelled like cigarettes and bleach. This was where I was living now, while my son slept in my house. I sat on the edge of the bed and pulled out the storage unit key Amanda had given me. She said my things would be there, in Unit 247. I needed clothes, my tools, personal items. I drove to the storage facility as the sun was setting. The facility was a sprawling complex of orange metal buildings. I found Unit 247 and unlocked it with shaking hands. The door rolled up. The unit was completely empty. Just bare concrete and dust. I stood there, staring at nothing. Then I ran to the office. The manager, a bored-looking young man, checked his computer. Unit 247? Yeah, someone came by this morning. Lady with the key said she was taking everything to an estate sale, cleaned it out completely. What lady? Did not get her name. Brown hair, pregnant, maybe 30. Amanda. She had given me the key to an empty unit. My things, Susan's things, all our possessions, were already gone. I went back to the motel and sat in the dark. I thought about calling Derek, but what would I say? He had made his choice. He had chosen Amanda over me. He had chosen greed over family. The boy I raised was gone. My phone buzzed. A text from Carl, my neighbor. Saw something on social media. Thought you should know. He sent me a link. It was an advertisement for an estate sale. Huge estate sale. Everything must go. Tools, furniture, collectibles, antiques. This Saturday, 9 to 5. The address was a warehouse on the south side of town. There were photos. I recognized my workbench. Susan's china cabinet. Our wedding photos in frames. They were selling our entire life. And they were doing it in 2 days. Saturday morning, I was at the warehouse at 8:30. The estate sale did not start until 9, but there was already a line of people waiting outside, eager to pick through my life for bargains. The warehouse was huge, a converted industrial building with concrete floors and fluorescent lights. When the doors opened at 9, I walked in with the crowd. The sight nearly brought me to my knees. Everything was there, displayed on tables and racks like merchandise. Susan's china cabinet, with the delicate floral pattern she loved, marked at $200. My professional contractor tools, worth thousands, bundled together for $50 a set. Our wedding photo albums in a cardboard box, marked $5 each. Susan's jewelry laid out on black velvet, including her mother's pearl necklace, tagged at $75. People were browsing, touching everything with their hands, haggling over prices. A woman picked up Susan's jewelry box, the one I had made for her in my workshop, and asked if she could get it cheaper if she bought the jewelry too. I wanted to scream. Then I saw Amanda. She was at the back of the warehouse, sitting at a card table with a cash box, running the sale. Her mother Sandra was with her, a hard-looking woman with bleached blonde hair and too much makeup. They were both smiling, chatting with customers, making sales. I walked through the warehouse in a daze. Someone had bought my toolbox, the big red one I had used for 35 years. A young couple was looking at our dining room table, discussing whether it would fit in their apartment. An older man was flipping through our photo albums, probably just curious about the pictures. I could not take it anymore. I walked up to a middle-aged woman who was holding Susan's pearl necklace, about to take it to the checkout. "Do not buy that," I said. "Please. It is stolen property." The woman looked at me, confused. "Excuse me? Those pearls belong to my wife. They were stolen from my house. None of this should be for sale." Amanda appeared beside me like a ghost. "Everyone," she called out loudly, "this man is mentally unstable. Please ignore him and continue shopping." I apologize for the disruption. "I am not unstable," I said, my voice rising. "This is my property, my wife's things. I built that cabinet. I refinished that table. These are not yours to sell." Sandra stepped forward, her face hard. "Sir, you need to leave. This is private property." "Private property?" I was almost shouting now. "This is my life you are selling." I reached for the pearls in the woman's hand. She was holding what belonged to Susan, what Amanda had stolen. The woman pulled back, and a large man behind her, probably her husband, pushed me away roughly. "Hey, keep your hands to yourself, old man." Amanda had her phone out, dialing. "Yes. I need police at 19 Warehouse District Road. There is a man here threatening customers and stealing merchandise. Please hurry. I am pregnant, and I am afraid." I looked around wildly and saw Derek. He had been in the back room, and now he was walking toward me. For a moment, I thought he would help me, but the look on his face was not sympathetic. It was annoyed. "Derek," I pleaded, "you are selling your mother's jewelry, her photo albums. How can you do this?" "We needed the money for closing costs, Dad," Derek said, as if this were perfectly reasonable. "You were not using this stuff anyway. It was just sitting in storage." "It was not in storage. It was in my house. You stole it." Police sirens wailed outside. 2 officers walked in, and Amanda immediately went to them, her hand on her belly, playing the victim. "Officers, thank goodness. This man claims he owns these items, but he signed everything over to us legally. Now he is harassing my customers and getting physical." She showed them the quitclaim deed again. The large man who had pushed me stepped forward. He grabbed merchandise right out of my wife's hands, got aggressive when I stopped him. Sandra added her poison. "He has been stalking my daughter. She is pregnant and terrified. We had to get a restraining order." There was no restraining order, but the officers did not know that. The officers looked at me. One of them, a young guy with a crew cut, said, "Sir, do you have documentation showing you own these items? I built half of it with my own hands. The rest belonged to my late wife. But do you have documentation? Receipts? Titles? Anything?" I did not. Who keeps receipts for a toolbox bought 20 years ago, for furniture you built yourself? "Sir," the other officer said, older and more sympathetic, "she has legal documentation. You will need to resolve this in civil court. For now, you need to leave." "I am not leaving without my wife's things," I said, my voice breaking. "Sir, do not make us arrest you." I did not care anymore. I pushed past them and grabbed a photo album from the bin. It was from our 25th wedding anniversary. Susan smiling at the camera, her arm around me. I clutched it to my chest. The officers looked at each other. The older one sighed. "Sir, put it down." "No. Sir, last warning." I held onto the album. The younger officer moved behind me, and before I knew what was happening, my arms were being pulled behind my back. Cold metal clicked around my wrists. Handcuffs. You are under arrest for trespassing and disorderly conduct." They walked me out of the warehouse in handcuffs, past the line of customers, past Amanda who stood with her arms crossed and that same satisfied smile. Derek watched from the doorway, and for a second, I saw something in his eyes. Guilt, maybe. Doubt. But then Amanda touched his arm, and he looked away. I spent 4 hours in a holding cell at the police station before Patricia Simmons came to bail me out. She looked grim as we walked to her car. "Howard, this is bad. Really bad. They are building a case that you are unstable, possibly dangerous. This arrest record will be used against you in court." I sat in her passenger seat, still feeling the ghost of handcuffs on my wrists. "Amanda is smarter than we thought. She has planned every move. What do we do?" I asked, feeling more defeated than I had in my entire life. "We fight," Patricia said. "But carefully. No more confrontations. They are baiting you, trying to make you look like the aggressor. From now on, you go through me. Understood?" I nodded. But I did not know how much fight I had left. 3 days after the arrest, a man in a suit knocked on my motel room door and handed me papers. I had been served. Emergency protective order. Amanda was filing for a restraining order against me. The petition was 3 pages long, and every word was a lie designed to destroy me. According to Amanda, I had threatened to burn down the house with them in it. I had sent threatening text messages. I had a history of erratic behavior since Susan's death. I was dangerous, unstable, and she feared for her life, and the life of her unborn child. The hearing was scheduled for the next morning at 9. I called Patricia immediately. She came to my motel room an hour later and read through the petition, her mouth set in a hard line. "This is character assassination," she said. She turned to the attachments. "She has evidence?" There were screenshots of text messages, supposedly from my phone number. "You will regret this. I will make sure you lose everything. That baby will not save you." I felt like I was going to be sick. "I never sent those. I never wrote anything like that." Patricia studied the screenshots. "Someone either spoofed your number or got access to your phone. Did you ever leave your phone unlocked around Derek or Amanda?" I thought back. Derek had been to my house dozens of times over the past few months. He could have taken my phone while I was in the bathroom or out in the garage. He would know my password. I had told him years ago in case of emergency. "This is going to be difficult to disprove," Patricia said. "But we will try. Bring your phone to court tomorrow. We will show your actual message history." That night, I barely slept. I kept thinking about standing in front of a judge, while Amanda painted me as a violent, unstable old man. I thought about Derek, who apparently would do anything Amanda told him to do, even destroy his own father. The courthouse was cold and impersonal. We sat in a small courtroom with fluorescent lights and uncomfortable benches. Judge Barbara Henderson presided, a stern woman in her 60s with sharp eyes. Amanda arrived dressed simply, in a plain dress and flats, her hand resting protectively on her belly. She looked young and vulnerable. Derek sat beside her, wearing a button-down shirt I had bought him for Christmas 2 years ago. Sandra was there too, in the back row, watching me with hatred. The hearing began. Amanda took the stand first. Her voice shook as she testified. "Your Honor, I am 6 months pregnant with my first child. Since my father-in-law learned that my husband and I legally acquired his former house, he has become increasingly hostile and threatening." She described the confrontation at the house when I arrived from Tennessee. "He was furious, irrational. We showed him the legal documents, but he refused to accept them. She made it sound like I was delusional. Then she talked about the estate sale. He came to the sale and started screaming at customers, claiming everything was stolen. He physically grabbed merchandise and had to be arrested. The officers had to put him in handcuffs." She dabbed at her eyes. "I was terrified. I am carrying his grandchild, and he was acting like he wanted to hurt me." She showed the judge the text messages. These started coming 2 days after the estate sale. Threats, saying I would regret what I did, that the baby would not protect me. "Your Honor, I am genuinely afraid. I do not know what he might do." Derek was called next. My son walked to the stand without looking at me once. He raised his right hand and swore to tell the truth. My father changed after my mother died, Derek said quietly. He became angry, paranoid. We tried to help him. We thought if we bought the house, he could start fresh somewhere smaller, somewhere without all the painful memories. And how did your father react? The judge asked. He accused us of stealing. He would not listen to reason. At the estate sale, he attacked customers. The police arrested him. Since then, the threatening messages started. Derek's voice dropped. I love my father, but I do not recognize him anymore. I am worried about Amanda and our baby. Sandra testified that she had known me for years, and since Susan's death, I had changed. She claimed I drank heavily, talked to myself, had angry outbursts. All lies, but delivered with such conviction that I saw the judge taking notes. Finally, it was my turn. Patricia had coached me to stay calm, stick to facts, not get emotional. I took the stand and tried to explain. Your Honor, I never signed that deed. It was forged. I was in Florida 3 weeks ago, when it was supposedly notarized. I never sent those threatening texts. Someone is framing me. Do you have proof the signature is forged? Judge Henderson asked. Not yet. Handwriting analysis takes time. But I can prove I was in Florida. I have receipts, witnesses. Do you have proof you did not send these texts? I handed my phone to Patricia, who showed it to the judge. My actual message history showed no threatening texts. Someone could have spoofed your number, the judge said, or sent them from a different device, and then deleted them. I felt trapped. Everything I said sounded like excuses. The judge asked about the arrest at the estate sale. I tried to explain. That was my property, Your Honor. My late wife's belongings. They took everything from my house and sold it without my permission. But they had legal documentation showing the house, and its contents belonged to them, the judge said. Documentation I never signed. Judge Henderson looked at me for a long moment. Her expression was not unkind, but it was firm. Mr. Howard, I understand you are grieving your wife, but your behavior is concerning. You were arrested for disorderly conduct. There are threatening messages from your number. Multiple witnesses testify to erratic behavior. They are lying, I said, and my voice cracked. My own son is lying to protect his wife. The judge made her decision. I am granting a temporary restraining order. Mr. Howard, you must stay at least 500 feet from Amanda Howard, Derek Howard, and the property in question. You may not contact them directly or indirectly. This order is valid for 6 months, at which time we will have a full hearing. Violating this order will result in immediate arrest and jail time. Do you understand? Your Honor, that is my house. I built it. My wife died there. Do you understand the order, Mr. Howard? I looked at Patricia. She nodded slightly. I had no choice. Yes, Your Honor. I understand. As we left the courtroom, Amanda and Derek walked past us. Amanda met my eyes, and in that brief moment, I saw the truth. She was not afraid. She was not a victim. She was a predator, and she had won this round. Derek still would not look at me. He walked beside Amanda like a shadow, completely under her control. Outside, Patricia put a hand on my shoulder. We will appeal. But for now, you have to obey this order. Stay away from them. Stay away from the house. If you violate it, you go to jail, and we lose everything. I nodded, but inside, I was screaming. I went back to the motel. Room 217 had become my prison. Every morning I woke up on that saggy mattress and remembered that I had nowhere else to go. No house, no family, no future. My money was running out fast. The motel cost $80 a night. Without a kitchen, I had to eat at restaurants or survive on convenience store food. My savings were draining at an alarming rate. I had spent $30,000 on legal fees so far. Another $50,000 waited ahead if we went to trial. 2 weeks after the restraining order hearing, Patricia called with news that made me want to throw my phone across the room. The house closed, she said, her voice heavy. This morning, I could not speak. My throat closed up. Howard, I am so sorry. The emergency injunction was denied. The judge ruled that the deed appeared legitimate and the buyers deserved their opportunity. The sale went through. Who bought it? I managed to ask. Brian and Jennifer Marshall. They paid $800,000. The money has been transferred to an account in Derek and Amanda's names. $800,000. I had built that house for $180,000. Susan and I had poured our hearts into it. And now Derek and Amanda had sold it for $800,000, and they would keep every penny. Patricia had done some research. Howard, I found something. Jennifer Marshall's maiden name was Lawson. Sandra's maiden name is also Lawson. They are cousins. It took a moment for the implications to sink in. They sold it to family? It is a common fraud tactic. Sell to a relative at fair market value, so it looks legitimate. The relative holds it for a few months, then sells it to a real buyer. By the time we prove fraud and get a judgment, the house will belong to innocent third-party purchasers who paid good money. Recovering it becomes almost impossible. The money will be hidden, moved offshore, or spent. We will be chasing ghosts. I sat on the edge of the motel bed, my head in my hands. Amanda had planned every detail. She was not just smart, she was ruthless. There is more, Patricia said, and I knew from her tone it was bad. You have been served again. Amanda is suing you. For what? $50,000. She is claiming emotional distress, harassment during her pregnancy, harm to her health and the baby's health, and legal fees for defending against your baseless claims. She wants damages, court costs, and attorney fees. I thought I had hit bottom, but there was always further to fall. My savings were down to $75,000. Legal fees had eaten $30,000. The motel and living expenses were bleeding me dry at about $4,000 a month. If I kept fighting, I would be broke within 6 months. And now Amanda wanted another $50,000 on top of that. What do I do? I asked Patricia. There was a long silence. Howard, I hate to say this, but you should consider settling. Cut your losses. Take whatever they will give you, and walk away before you lose everything. Your entire retirement. You could end up homeless. Settle? The word tasted like poison. Let them steal my house and then pay them for it? You could lose everything, Patricia said gently. Every penny. You would have nothing. I hung up and sat in the dark motel room for hours. Everything Susan and I had built was gone. Our home, our possessions, our savings, and my son had helped destroy it all. 3 days later, the local news ran a story. I was lying on the motel bed, flipping through channels, when I saw Derek and Amanda on the screen. The headline read, Elderly man's harassment of pregnant daughter in law sparks concern. They were standing in front of my house. Their house now. Amanda had her hand on her belly. Derek stood beside her, protective and concerned. The reporter asked Amanda how she was doing. It has been difficult, Amanda said, her voice soft and vulnerable. We tried so hard to help Howard after Susan passed. We thought giving him a fresh start would be good for him. But when we legally purchased the house, he became fixated on hurting us. The reporter turned to Derek. This must be hard for you, having your father act this way. Derek nodded, looking pained. My father is not well. I love him, but we had to protect ourselves and our baby. The threats, the harassment, the arrest. We had no choice but to get a restraining order. They showed footage from the estate sale. The security cameras had captured me struggling with the police, being handcuffed, being led away. I looked unhinged, dangerous, exactly like they wanted me to look. The news story mentioned the restraining order and painted me as a bitter old man who could not accept that his son had moved on with his life. The next day, people I had known for years started avoiding me. I ran into a couple from my old neighborhood at the grocery store. They saw me and quickly turned down another aisle. My phone stopped ringing. Even Carl, my loyal neighbor, seemed uncomfortable when I called him. Howard, I believe you, Carl said. But man, this looks really bad. The news, the arrest, the restraining order, people are talking. I was alone, completely alone. Patricia was the only person who still believed me, and sometimes I caught her looking at me with doubt in her eyes. I sat in that motel room and opened a photo album I had managed to save. Susan on our wedding day, young and beautiful in her white dress. Derek as a baby, laughing in my arms. The three of us building the house together. Derek just a boy, holding a hammer that was too big for him. I wept. Everything was gone. My son was lost to me. My wife's memory had been defiled. I was broke, alone, and branded as dangerous and crazy. For the first time in my life, I thought about giving up. Just signing whatever papers they wanted, taking whatever money they offered, and disappearing. Maybe getting a cheap apartment somewhere far away where no one knew my name. Living out my days alone, a broken old man who had lost everything. I looked at Susan's picture. "I am sorry," I whispered. "I am so sorry. I could not protect what we built." But even in my despair, something deep inside me refused to surrender. Susan had not raised a quitter. She had fought her cancer with courage and dignity until the very end. I owed it to her memory to keep fighting. Even if I lost everything, I just did not know how much more I could take. 2 weeks later, there was a knock on my motel room door at 7 in the evening. I was not expecting anyone. I looked through the peephole and felt my heart jump. Derek was standing outside, alone. I opened the door slowly. My son looked nervous, glancing over his shoulder like he was afraid of being followed. He had dark circles under his eyes and had lost weight. "Dad," he said quietly, "can we talk, please?" I let him in. I could not help myself. This was my son, my only child. Hope flared in my chest. Maybe he had finally seen the truth. Maybe he had come to make things right. Derek sat in the single chair by the window. I sat on the edge of the bed. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. "I made a mistake," Derek finally said, his head in his hands. "Amanda is out of control. I want to fix this." "You will tell the truth?" I asked, hardly daring to believe it. "About the forgery? About everything?" Derek looked up at me, and I saw something in his eyes. Pain, maybe? Or guilt. "It is complicated, Dad, but I have a solution. If you sign these papers, we can end all the lawsuits. Amanda will drop everything. You will get some money. Not much, but enough to start over." He pulled a folded document from his jacket and slid it across the small table between us. I reached for it, but something made me pause. "What kind of papers?" "Just a settlement agreement. It says we both move on. No more fighting. You get $25,000. Amanda drops the lawsuit. We all just walk away. "And the house?" "The house is gone, Dad. But this way, you get something. Otherwise, you get nothing." I started reading the document. It was dense legal language, full of clauses and subsections. But as I read more carefully, the truth became clear. This was not a settlement. This was a surrender. I would be acknowledging that the sale was legitimate, dropping all claims to the house, accepting liability for any damages caused by my harassment, waiving all rights to sue in the future. And in exchange, I would get $25,000. I looked up at Derek. "If I sign this, I lose everything forever." "You have already lost," Derek said, his voice rising with frustration. "The house is sold. Your money is almost gone. Take the deal before Amanda changes her mind." "This is not reconciliation," I said slowly. "This is the final robbery." Derek stood up, angry now. "Fine. Stay stubborn. Stay broke. Die alone in this motel room. I tried to help you." "Help me?" I could not believe what I was hearing. "By destroying me?" Derek walked to the door and turned back. His face was hard, cold. "You never understood, Dad. Amanda is the only one who truly cares about me. Not you, not Mom, Amanda. She sees my potential. She believes in me. You just wanted me to be a copy of you. Son, she is using you. Can you not see that?" "No, Dad. You are the one who does not see. Sign the papers or do not. I do not care anymore." He left, slamming the door behind him. I sat holding the unsigned papers, my hands shaking. My son was too far gone. Amanda had poisoned him completely, turned him against everything he had been raised to value. I did not sign the papers. An hour later, there was another knock. I opened the door cautiously. A man in his 50s stood there, someone vaguely familiar. He was tall and lean, with graying hair and kind eyes. "Mr. Howard? I am James Burton. We worked together about 20 years ago on the hospital renovation project." I remembered him. James had been a carpenter, skilled and reliable. We had worked together for 8 months on that job. "James, what are you doing here?" "I saw the news story," he said, "about you and your daughter-in-law. I do not believe it. You were always honest, fair, best contractor I ever worked for. So I did some digging." He handed me a folder. "Can I come in?" I let him in, confused but curious. James sat down and opened the folder. "I know Gerald Patterson, the attorney who handled your deed. We go to the same church. He has a reputation. Nothing proven, but whispers. People say he helps with real estate fraud." I asked around quietly. James pulled out printed documents. "Patterson has been involved in at least 3 other cases in the past 5 years with similar patterns. Elderly property owners suddenly signing over valuable real estate. Always the same notary, a woman named Linda Cho. Always just before the owner goes on vacation or enters a care facility." I stared at the papers. "Other cases. Other victims. I cannot prove Patterson was involved in forging your deed," James continued, "but the pattern is clear. And look at this." He showed me screenshots from social media. Amanda's Facebook page. 4 months ago, she had posted photos from a real estate investment seminar. "Get rich with quitclaim deed strategies," the banner in the background read. Amanda was smiling in the photo, holding a workbook. "She was planning this for months," I said, "the pieces falling into place. Before she even convinced me to go on vacation." "That is what it looks like," James said. "I printed everything. Take it to your lawyer. It is not proof, but it is a pattern. It might be enough to get a judge to look deeper." "Why are you helping me?" I asked, my voice thick with emotion. James smiled. 22 years ago, I had just gotten out of prison. Drug charges. I was clean, but nobody would hire me. You took a chance on me. You said everyone deserves a second shot. You gave me a job when I had nothing. I never forgot that, Mr. Howard. After James left, I sat with the folder in my lap, staring at the evidence. For the first time in weeks, I felt something other than despair. I felt hope. I called Patricia immediately. She came to the motel within an hour. I showed her everything James had found. Patricia read through it all, her eyes getting wider. "This is what we needed. A pattern. We can subpoena Patterson's records. Force Linda Cho to testify. If we can show this is part of a larger fraud scheme, everything changes." "Can we win?" I asked. "Maybe," Patricia said. "This gives us leverage. Real leverage. We file a motion to reopen the case with new evidence. If the judge sees this pattern, she might order a full investigation." For the first time since that 5 a.m. phone call, I felt like I had a fighting chance. Patricia filed the motion the next morning. We had a court date scheduled for 3 weeks out. Judge Henderson agreed to hear our new evidence. But I had one more card to play. One I had been holding in secret since the beginning. Patricia met me at a coffee shop downtown, away from her office. I brought my laptop. She looked curious but patient as I opened it and turned it toward her. 6 months ago, I said, Derek started asking strange questions. About the house value, my will, the deed. It made me uneasy. So I installed security cameras. Patricia leaned forward. "What?" "Very small ones. Hidden. Throughout the house. In the living room, kitchen, my bedroom, the hallway. They recorded continuously to a cloud server. Howard, why did you not tell me this?" "Because I needed them to commit fully. If I had shown my hand too early, they would have backed off, destroyed evidence. But now they are locked in. They have lied under oath, committed fraud, forged documents. They cannot undo any of it." I opened the first video file. Date stamped from 4 months ago. The living room. Amanda, Derek, and Gerald Patterson, sitting at my dining room table. The audio was crystal clear. Gerald's voice. "The key is getting a good forger. Linda will notarize anything for $200. Once the deed is filed, it is legal until proven otherwise. The old man will not have the money or energy to fight." Amanda, What if he does fight? Gerald laughing. We bury him in motions, restraining orders. Make him look crazy. I have done this 5 times. It always works. They give up. Patricia's mouth fell open. She stared at the screen, then at me. You have this? You have them on camera planning the fraud? I have everything, I said. I showed her more footage. Amanda sitting at my kitchen table, practicing my signature over and over on scratch paper. Derek watching, giving her advice. That looks good. He will never prove it is not his. Another video. Amanda, Derek, and Sandra planning the estate sale. Sandra's voice. Sell it all fast before he can stop us. Derek. What about Mom's jewelry? Amanda, cold and businesslike. Especially that. The pearls will get good money. Derek hesitating. I do not know. It feels wrong. Amanda, sharp and angry. Do not go soft on me now. This is our future. Your father will be fine. More videos. Amanda on the phone with her cousin Jennifer, arranging the fake sale. We need you to buy the house. Hold it for 6 months, then sell it for real. We will split the profit 3 ways. Jennifer. This is how we all get rich. Patricia watched everything, her hand over her mouth. When the videos finished, she looked at me with something close to awe. Why did you wait so long? I had to let them destroy themselves, I said. Every lie they told in court is on record. Every piece of forged evidence they submitted. They have committed perjury, fraud, conspiracy. If I had shown this early, their lawyer would have found a way to spin it. Now they are trapped. Patricia grabbed her phone. We need to get this to the district attorney immediately, and to the judge. Not yet, I said. I recorded Derek's visit to the motel. He tried to trick me into signing papers that would waive all my rights. I played the audio from my phone's voice recorder. Derek's voice, trying to convince me to sign the settlement, admitting that it was not really about reconciliation, but about ending my ability to fight. They have no idea any of this exists, I said. At the hearing, they will walk in thinking they have already won. The hearing was held on a Thursday morning. The same courtroom, the same judge. Amanda and Derek arrived with Gerald Patterson and a confidence that bordered on arrogance. They thought this was just a formality. One more hurdle before they got away with everything. Judge Henderson took her seat. We are here for Mr. Howard's motion to present new evidence in the matter of the disputed property transfer. Miss Simmons, you may proceed. Patricia stood. Your Honor, we have obtained significant new evidence that demonstrates a pattern of fraud involving the attorney Gerald Patterson and notary Linda Cho. Additionally, we have direct evidence of the conspiracy to defraud Mr. Howard. She handed a tablet to the bailiff, who gave it to the judge. Your Honor, Mr. Howard installed security cameras in his home several months ago. These cameras captured the entire conspiracy on video. Amanda's face went white. Derek looked at me with something between shock and betrayal. Gerald Patterson half stood from his chair. Your Honor, I object. This is clearly fabricated. Sit down, Mr. Patterson, Judge Henderson said coldly. She pressed play on the tablet. The courtroom went silent. The video played on a screen for everyone to see. Amanda forging my signature. Gerald explaining how to use a complicit notary. The 3 of them planning every detail of the fraud. Their admissions that they expected me to be too broke and tired to fight. The videos played for 20 minutes. When they finished, Judge Henderson's face was like stone. I am calling the district attorney's office immediately, she said. Bailiff, make sure no one leaves this courtroom. A prosecutor arrived within 30 minutes. Judge Henderson showed him the videos. The prosecutor watched, his expression growing darker. Your Honor, Patricia said, we also have evidence of conspiracy involving the sale to family members, the estate sale of stolen property, and attempted coercion. She presented everything. The connection between Jennifer Marshall and Sandra. The social media posts showing Amanda planned this months in advance. The audio of Derek trying to trick me into signing away my rights. Gerald Patterson tried to leave. The bailiff blocked the door. Sir, sit down. Judge Henderson addressed the courtroom. I am voiding the quitclaim deed immediately. The transfer was based on fraud and forgery. The restraining order is revoked. Mr. and Mrs. Marshall. You are ordered to transfer the property back to Mr. Howard immediately. All funds from the sale are to be frozen and returned with interest. Amanda started crying, but they were not tears of remorse. They were tears of rage. Derek sat frozen, staring at nothing. Furthermore, the judge continued, I am referring this matter to the district attorney for criminal prosecution. Fraud, forgery, conspiracy, perjury. Mr. Patterson, you will be reported to the state bar. The prosecutor stepped forward. Your Honor, I will be filing charges against Amanda Howard, Derek Howard, Gerald Patterson, Linda Cho, and Sandra Lawson as an accessory. I recommend they all surrender their passports. Judge Henderson nodded. Granted. And Miss Simmons, I assume Mr. Howard will be filing a civil suit for damages? Yes, Your Honor. Return of all property sold at the estate sale, emotional distress, legal fees, and punitive damages. I will grant that as well, the judge said. This is one of the most egregious cases of elder financial abuse I have seen in my career. Amanda and Derek were let out by security. Gerald Patterson was already on his phone, probably calling a criminal defense attorney. Amanda looked at me with pure hatred as she left. Derek finally met my eyes. There was something there. Shock, maybe. The realization of what he had done. But it was too late for regret. 3 months later, I stood in my house. My house. The marshals had returned it within a week, terrified of prison. Most of my possessions had been recovered or compensated for. The estate sale buyers, when they learned the items were stolen, mostly returned them. Some things were gone forever, but I had the important ones. Susan's pearls, our photo albums, the furniture we had built together. The court awarded me the $800,000 from the sale, plus $200,000 in damages and legal fees. Derek and Amanda both pleaded guilty to avoid trial, 3 years in prison each. Gerald Patterson was disbarred and sentenced to 5 years. Linda Cho lost her notary license and got 2 years. Sandra received probation for her role. I sat in my recliner, the brown leather one I had thought was lost forever. The house was quiet, empty. I had everything back except the one thing I wanted most. My son. Derek was in prison. His wife was in prison. Their baby, my grandchild, had been born while Amanda was awaiting sentencing. Social services placed the child with Sandra, temporarily. I had not met my grandchild. I did not know if I ever would. I kept one photo on the mantel. Derek as a little boy, maybe 6 years old, sitting on my shoulders. We were in front of the house, half-built. He was wearing my tool belt, way too big for him, grinning at the camera. Susan had taken that picture. I looked at it every day, and wondered what had happened to that little boy. When did he become someone I did not recognize? Was it Amanda's influence? Was it greed? Was it something I had done wrong as a father? I did not have answers. I only knew that I had won the battle but lost my son. The house was saved, but the family was broken. Some victories feel like defeats. But I also knew this. Trust is sacred, but it should never be blind. I had trusted Derek completely, and he had used that trust to try to destroy me. Family should be treasured, protected, loved, but not when they become predators. Not when love becomes a weapon. The hardest lesson is accepting that someone you love, someone you raised, has become someone you do not recognize. And sometimes, the right thing to do is fight back, even if it costs you everything. I hope Derek will wake up someday. I hope prison will give him time to think about what he did, about what he lost. I hope he will realize that Amanda manipulated him, used him, destroyed his relationship with his father for money. Maybe someday he will knock on my door, not with forged papers or fake apologies, but with genuine remorse. Maybe someday we can rebuild something from these ashes, but I am not holding my breath. Some bridges, once burned, cannot be rebuilt. I have my house. I have my memories of Susan. I have my self-respect. I fought, and I won. That has to be enough. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had someone close to you, someone you trusted completely, betray you in a way you never saw coming? How did you handle it? Did you fight back, or did you walk away? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Your story might help someone else who is going through something similar. If this story moved you, hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel for more true stories about overcoming life's toughest challenges. And share this video with anyone who needs to hear that even when everything seems lost, there is always a way to fight back. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you that justice is possible, even when the odds seem impossible. Stay strong, stay vigilant, and never give up on what is rightfully yours. Until next time, take care of yourselves and the people you love.